if I'm deploying capital, let's say I'm a CEO of a company and I can now have software that's written by AI, does that mean that I'm going to fire 80% of my software engineers? Basically, it means one software engineer can output, call it 20, 50 times as much software as they previously could by using that software generation tool. So the return on the invested capital, the money I'm spending to pay the salary of that software engineer, is now much, much higher. I'm getting much more out of that person because of the unlocking of the productivity because of the AI tool than I previously could. So when you have a higher ROI on deployed capital, do you deploy more capital or less capital? Suddenly you have this opportunity to make 20 times on your money versus 2 times on your money. If you have a chance to make 20 times on your money, you're going to deploy a lot more capital. And this is the story of technology going back to the first invention of the first technology of the caveman. When we have this ability to create leverage, humans have a tendency to do more and invest more, not less. And I think that's what's about to happen. I think we see this across the spectrum. People assumed, oh my gosh, software can now be written with one person. You can create a whole startup. You don't need to have venture capital anymore. In fact, what I think we're going to see is much more venture capital flowing into new tech startups, much more capital being deployed because the return on the invested capital is so much higher because of AI. So generally speaking, I think that the premise that AI destroys jobs is wrong because it doesn't take into account the significantly higher return on invested capital, which means more capital is going to be deployed, which means actually far more jobs are going to be created, far more work is going to get done. And so I think that the counterbalancing effect is really hard to see without taking that zoomed out perspective. To respond to Sachs's point, I do think anytime you see a major change socially, societally, there's a vacuum. How's the system going to operate in the future? And anytime there's a vacuum in the system, a bunch of people will rush in and say, I know how to fill that vacuum. I know what to do because I am smarter, more educated, more experienced, more knowledgeable, more moral. I have some superiority over everyone else. And therefore, I should be in a position to define how the new system should operate. And so there's a natural kind of power vacuum that emerges anytime there's a major transition like this. And there will be a scrambling and a fighting and a whole bunch of different representation. Typically, fear is a great way of getting into power. And people are going to try and create new control systems because of the transition that's underway.
Okay,
You're going to see this around the world.
Yeah.